or you can go on back on my one as well, inshallah, my YouTube channel. And you can find it on the previous lecture last Thursday. Hafiz, I'm not going to speak anything more about Hafiz al-Dimyati. We said he was Hafiz al-Mizzi, especially one of the greatest Huffaz, who was the Ustad of Hafiz al-Dhahabi. Okay, he said, "Ma ra'aytu ahfadha minhu." That in itself is more than enough. I have not seen anyone in Hadith more memorizing of this individual in my life. There's no single person that's similar to him in memorization of Hadith. So that in itself speaks a lot. Just to give an introduction to new brothers that are joining in, the Qur'an, of course, all of it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of it is from the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's certain, like just for example, Ramadan throughout the whole year is not the same as any other month. Okay? Ramadan is not the same as any other month. Everything is multiplied so many times. Same with, for example, Makkah, Medina. When you go to Makkah, the rewards are multiplied 100,000 times. When you go to Medina, the reward is multiplied 1,000 times. At the strongest narration, another narration, it says 50,000. When you go to Masjid al-Aqsa, for example, every single action that you do there is multiplied minimum 500 times. Minimum. So there's places which multiply the rewards, there's times that multiply the rewards. Okay? Same thing regarding the Quran. There's certain surahs, there's certain ayats that have special virtue over others. Not to say any others are less. Okay? Not to say none. For example, if you read Surah Tabbat Yada Abi Lahabin wa Tab, Tabbat Yada in Arabic, anyone that knows Arabic, is not a good word, is it? Tabbat Yada Abi Lahabin wa Tab. Like, destruction be upon Abi Lahab. You know? It's not a nice thing. But the thing is, we get rewarded for reading that surah every single time and each and every single letter of it. Okay? So that's why I'm saying not every single portion of the Quran has the same value. Okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves to be praised. Like, for example, Ayatul Kursi we spoke about last week. He loves to be praised in a certain way sometimes. And if you do that, then he guarantees you certain things. If you read it after every single salah, then he's got you guaranteed for the next salah. If you die within the next salah, then inshallah, if you do close your eyes within that time, then inshallah your paradise is guaranteed without any accountability. Inshallah, that's the guarantee. So there's certain days which some surahs are more, we are told to read. For example, Surah Kahf, we done that last week a bit. We read on every Fridays, isn't it? And Friday's already started. We already said this last week. So there's certain surahs that you read on certain days, certain surahs that you read on special nights. So just before you go to sleep, Surah Waqiyah, Surah Mulk, we already discussed a bit. Inshallah, we're gonna discuss more. And then there's certain purposes. Sometimes there's certain purposes that you read certain surahs for, or certain verses for. So inshallah, not to carry on anymore, but to start the actual part that I wanted to start from. We're not going to do Surah Fatiha, Surah Baqarah, Surah Al Imran. We already covered. Okay, if you want to go back to the previous lecture. Okay, we're going to carry on from the next surahs. The first couple of surahs, Surah Baqarah, excluding Surah Fatiha, Surah Baqarah, Surah Al Imran, Surah Nisa, Surah Ma'idah, Surah An'am. All these surahs going up to right until Surah Bara'ah. Okay, Surah Tawbah. All of these surahs are known as, well, Surah Anfal, I'm going to come to this. Surah Anfal and Surah Tawbah are more or less considered one surah. Many of the Sahaba considered it one surah, and there's no Bismillah in between, isn't it? And one of the reasons that you know that it's the next surah, like especially according to Hanafis, I myself am a Hanafi. So according to us, Surah Bismillah is a part of the Quran, not to be mistaken, okay? Is a part of the Quran, but it's used only for separation. That doesn't mean it wasn't revealed every single time when a surah was revealed, okay? Not to mistake that as well. We do recite Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, but we recite quietly, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, all of them, they recited quietly. They didn't recite loudly. If that was the case, then any person that comes with any hadith, tell them, did Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman do it? Did the senior Sahabas do it? Yes or no? If they didn't do it, then that's a problem. You understand what the issue is? Hassan, Hussein, they were young. They were young when Rasulullah passed away. You can't say Nu'man ibn Bashir said this hadith, and start jumping up and down. It doesn't make sense. To an alim, to a scholar, to a muhaddith, to a mufassir, to a faqih, that doesn't make sense. There's no sense in that. You're going to tell me someone who Rasulullah told to pray at the back of the masjid, practically at the back of the masjid, more or less, behind the men. He knows better of Rasulullah's salah than those that used to be behind Rasulullah on the first saf. Impossible. Impossible. It clearly shows that whoever was at the back, that child that was at the back, that's narrating the hadith in Bukhari, there's a slight issue. Okay, I'm just saying this for you to get things into perspective. That's why we specifically don't, although a lot of ulama do associate themselves to say we are Ahlul Hadith, but we call ourselves as Ahlul Sunnah. We follow what the Sunnah is, not the Hadith. Hadith is there, yes. Without Hadith, you don't understand what the Sunnah is. But not every Hadith is there for you to be practiced upon. Some of the Hadith, they are, for example, mansukh. They abrogated, they cancelled out. They happened in the beginning of Islam, but later on, Rasulullah stopped doing it. Rasulullah stopped. He forbade. He forbade the action. Is that understood? Many of the actions were, for example, specific to him. Many of the actions were because of other reasons. Okay? Like, for example, standing and urinating. That can't be sunnah, can it? Rasulullah sat down and urinated all his life. Are you going to tell me just because you found one hadith, you're going to start jumping up and down? Doesn't make sense, does it? Okay, you can't say that's sunnah. Yes. The problem is I found this, subhanallah. When we were studying in the third year, when I was in South Africa, there was a student from Tanzania. I'm not going to mention his name. There was a student from Tanzania. He read in one of the books of Imam Shawkani. Imam Shawkani is very famous. He's one of the great hadith scholars. He read inside Nailul Awtar that to stand and urinate is sunnah. Who said it? Imam Nawawi said it. We're in big problems, isn't it? Shaykh al-Islam, Hafiz al-Dunya, is saying to stand and urinate is sunnah. Who's even narrating this? Shawkani. How do you solve this problem? Astaghfirullah. Deficiency in understanding is the biggest problem that we have. Ignorance is the biggest problem that we have. Just because the Imam goes against our opinion that we understand, we think we understand deen. You don't know why the Imam is going against you in a million ways. You understand? The answer to that is, according to the muhaddithin, according to the hadith scholars, anything, okay, without exception, anything that comes in hadith, according to them, they call it sunnah. They don't mean it to be sunnah meaning fiqh. Okay? That's something else. Meaning, is it established from Rasulullah authentically that Rasulullah did this action, yes or no? That's what they mean. They don't mean that this action is sunnah, meaning Rasulullah done it all throughout his life until he passed away, and then Abu Bakr done it all throughout his life until he passed away, Umar done it all throughout his life until he passed away. No. Even the muhaddithin don't understand it that way. According to their terminology, it's different. What sunnah means is anything that is established firmly from authentic ahadith, from authentic narrations, that Rasulullah definitely did this action. Because again, their job was what? To preserve the hadith. That was all. They didn't go into the deeper nitty-gritties of understanding hadith and the detailed, deep understanding. That's why even Imam Tirmidhi, I told you this last time, Imam Tirmidhi, he doesn't consider even his own ustad Does anyone know what Imam Bukhari's name is? Eh? Everyone's heard Imam Bukhari. Sure. Yeah? Muhammad, good, mashallah. He's got the first part. Muhammad bin Ismail. Mashallah. Allah barik fi. Muhammad bin Ismail. Muhammad bin Ismail was the Ustad of Imam Tirmidhi, the Sahib al-Sunan, author of the Sunan. Imam al-Tirmidhi, not in one place. Not in one single place of his whole book from beginning to end. You can search it. We studied it from cover to cover with the Ustad, with the complete explanation from beginning to end, from first hadith to last hadith, with the sanad, muttasil to Rasulullah. Okay? Not one place does he mention Muhammad bin Ismail al-Bukhari, Imam al-Bukhari, as Ahlul Ilm. You know what Ahlul Ilm means? The people of knowledge. Who are the people of knowledge? If Imam Bukhari is not from people of knowledge, then who's the people of knowledge? He mentions Sufyan al-Thawri. He mentions Abu Hanifa. He mentions Imam Malik. He mentions Imam Shafi'i. He mentions Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal. He mentions Ibn Abi Layla. He mentions Layth ibn Sa'ad. Great fuqaha. What does fuqaha mean? Experts of the religion in understanding the puzzle. Deen and hadith and Qur'an is like a puzzle. It's the easiest way I can put it to lay people. Okay? Unless you study 10 years, you won't even have a clue. You literally won't have a clue. So for anyone that wants to make it just Qur'an and hadith, brother, I'm sorry, you haven't understood Deen. You'll never understand Deen. Okay? That's why there's experts. That's why people study for 18 years in Azhar. Okay? That's why it takes 18 years to understand a bit of Deen. Not even all of Deen. Okay? Even they don't, after graduating after 18 years with a PhD, they themselves know their capacity. Okay? There's a reason why they're specialists. And we have to respect that. We have to respect that. Traditionally, it was respected because of the state. Unfortunately, now the state is gone. The Islamic State is gone. But alhamdulillah, we've got various institutions all over the world. Okay? So, please don't go into a book and when a muhaddith says it's sunnah, you start jumping up and down, okay? That's not the right way. You have to understand what he means by sunnah. So Imam Nawawi, although he's a great Shafi'i faqih, he's definitely a faqih. He's definitely one of the great scholars of fiqh, of the Shafi'i madhab. One of the great scholars, if not the great scholar of the Shafi'i madhab after Imam Shafi'i. But at that moment when he spoke, when he gave that commentary, he gave it according to the style of the muhaddithin, according to the terminology of the muhaddith. So unless he's talking in fiqh, that would be a complete different discussion. Okay? He wouldn't ever say in fiqh that Rasulullah standing and urinating is sunnah. This can never be. This can never be. Okay? None of the Imams said that. None of the Imams will say that. Now the point that I mentioned, why Imam at-Tirmidhi never mentioned Imam Bukhari to be in his whole book. And after every single chapter, he basically says, وَقَالَ أَهْلُ الْعِلْمِ. The people of ilm, the people of knowledge said this and this and this. And these are the people of ilm. And Imam Abu Hanifa, Malik, Shafi'i, Ahmad, they always mention more or less. And if there's a difference, then he says, these ulama said this and those ulama said that. He never mentions Muhammad bin Ismail, his ustad, because he didn't consider his ustad to be a faqih. He considered his ustad, Muhammad bin Ismail al-Bukhari, to be a muhaddith, a preserver of hadith, a protector of hadith. Okay? A muhaddith, a memorizer, great memorizer of hadith. That's what he considered him. So for example, whenever there's a problem in the chain, authenticity, he's immediately going to quote Muhammad bin Ismail. That's his go-to. He's always going to, whether this hadith is authentic or not authentic, immediately he'll go to وقال محمد بن إسماعيل كذا وكذا وكذا. Okay, Muhammad bin Ismail said this and this and this about this narrator about this hadith. Is that understood? Okay, he never ever mentions him from people of fiqh. Fiqh is completely different. Fiqh is completely different. Fiqh is deep understanding. من يريد الله به خيرا يفقهه في الدين. Whomsoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes good, what does he do? He gives him deep understanding in religion. Not just face value, deep understanding to solve the puzzle. Okay? There's so many intricacies. Anyway, inshallah, but this topic that we're discussing doesn't have that much intricacies. It's quite plain and simple and easy for everyone, for us to comprehend. So there's the 7 surahs that I told you from Baqarah right until the end of Tawbah. These are the longest surahs in the Qur'an, more or less. Yeah, and I told you Anfal and Tawbah are together. Anfal and Tawbah are together. So these add up to the first. These are called Tul. Tul means long. Tul means long. So these are called Tul. Then comes the category just after that, just after Surah Tawbah. Those surahs which have approximately 100 or over 100. So those surahs which are under 100, but they fall into that second category after Surah Tawbah, they will not be considered. We'll go through them quickly, inshallah. They will not be considered. So any surah that's 100 verses or more than 100 verses, they are called mi'un. Mi'un means 100. Okay? Hundreds. Plural. Mi'atun. Everyone knows mi'ah? 100. So mi'ah, mi'un, like a plural, 100 verses or more. Then comes all those surahs which have less than 100 verses. These are called mathani, right? Mathani. So these are any surahs which have less than 100 verses right until Surah Qaf. Right until Surah Hujurat, end of Hujurat. Then the last part is called Mufassal. Come on, try it. Mufassal. Okay? Mufassal. Some of the Sahaba, they understood it to be muhkam. Okay? Muhkam. Mufassal, what does Mufassal mean? Separated. What does it separate with? Small surahs. Bismillahs. Isn't it? That's what it separates it with. The more Bismillahs, that's why there's so many surahs there. Every single Bismillah is a separation. Okay, so because there's so many separations, this is called Mufassal. One of the explanations. Now, the first narration that we're going to discuss, inshallah. Okay, just before I start, inshallah, one thing that I wanted to mention is that the way the surahs are put into the Qur'an. This surah, because we know the Qur'an was revealed over 23 years. It wasn't revealed as a book form. So therefore, every single year when Jibreel alayhi salam used to come down in Ramadan, he used to revise the whole Qur'an with Rasulullah. Whenever he used to revise the Qur'an, he would always, not just that time, okay, not specifically to that time, but also other times throughout the year as well. That was like a revision. You know, like Hafiz al-Quran, like myself. For us, Tarawih is the best revision because your nerves are so high. It doesn't matter how many years you've been doing it. You could be doing it for 17 years like myself. It still doesn't do justice. Every single time they put you to the musalla, that's it. The first 3 days you're shaking, no matter what. SubhanAllah. It's a great responsibility. End of the day, it's a great, massive responsibility. You're taking on, just as it is rewarding, likewise, it's a massive responsibility that you have of all the people that are behind you. Just like you're going to get the reward of them, there's, inshallah, and at the same time, you take the burden of all the laws, you abide by all the laws of Salah, of Qur'an, of everything, you know. If you make mistakes, you need to fix them up, isn't it? Make a major mistake. If it's something that breaks the salah, you must immediate. If someone doesn't correct you, it becomes really problematic because you need to repeat that whole two rakats. And you know our sasas, our uncles, they get very angry sometimes. You know, what's Hafiz doing? He's not eating iftar properly. We can't eat iftar. I'm sorry. If we eat iftar, we won't be coming and leading. So, Allah. Our iftar is after Tarawih, by the way. Just for all of you to know. Allah. It's amazing. Ramadan is absolute. Anyway, the arrangement of the Quran, the arrangement of the surahs of the Quran are all tawqifi. Say the tawqifi. They're from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're from Jibreel alayhi salam, they're from Rasulullah. He specifically said, this surah, put this surah after that surah, put this surah after that surah. When we go through the scribes of the Quran, like Zayd ibn Thabit and Ubay ibn Ka'ab and all the other scribes of the Quran, Ibn Mas'ud and many others of the Sahaba, it's approximately 65. Okay, 65 that we know. 65 that we know. Okay, not to say that they were only limited to 65. 65 that we know through all the research, even current research. So even the order of the Quran, the systematic order of the Quran and the surahs that go in order, all of that is from Rasulullah. All of that is from Jibreel, all of that is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just for us not to, even the verses, because couple of verses came down. Rasulullah said, put this verse between this verse and that verse. And we've got many ahadith like this, okay, telling us this exact same thing. Put these 5 verses in between this verse and this verse and that verse. Okay, so don't think that the Quran was just put together in anyhow. And the Sahaba, they put it however they felt like. No. Okay, this is not the case at all. So the arrangement that we have now is exactly the same arrangement as in Lawh al-Mahfuz. Last year before Rasulullah passed away, what happened? Rasulullah went through 2 khatams of the whole Quran. Revision. Okay, not 1 khatam, 2 khatams. Specifically why? Because this Quran is protected and has to be protected with every single ayah, with every single surah, with everything in absolute precision. It's not, then it's going to be a problem. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made a promise. Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra, inna lahu lahafidhun. Allah has taken the responsibility to preserve this book. Okay? This is why there is no other book that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala done this to. Because there was no other book that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned this as a promise to keep it for until the end of time. It was only for their nation. Whichever nation that came, it was only for that nation. Inshallah. Aisha radiallahu anha reports عن عائشة رضي الله عنها أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من أخذ السبع الأول من القرآن فهو حبر. This narration is in Musnad Imam Ahmad. Now, Musnad Imam Ahmad is a massive book. It's a massive book. Over 30,000 narrations. Probably the same size as Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Nasai, Ibn Majah put together. Okay, it's massive. It's huge. There's a lot of repetition. Just like the 6 books, a lot of repetition. Majority of it is authentic. Majority of it is authentic. Vast majority of it. There is a small portion which there's weaknesses. Now, of course, Imam Ahmad as well. I said this, was it last lesson or the lesson before? Imam Ahmad himself accepts weak hadith. Okay? Even in fiqh. Especially in Fadail al-A'mal. Even in fiqh, when there is no other option but to take weak hadith, he takes weak hadith in fiqh as well. Okay? Just because some brothers, they're inside that mode. Unfortunately, this is the case in our times, that people think that it's just authentic my way or the highway. Okay? It's either you take the authentic one or either you. Imam Ahmad didn't do it. He was a memorizer of 1 million hadith, million narrations, million chains. Okay, just for our understanding. Even he himself didn't do it. The greatest muhaddith of the world, the Ustad of Imam Bukhari. He himself didn't. Imam Bukhari himself narrates weak hadith. Imam Bukhari himself, the Don himself, Not in his book, not in his Sahih. Sahih, that's a specific condition that he made, not to narrate weak hadith. But in his Tarikh, Tarikh al-Kabir, Tarikh al-Awsat, Tarikh al-Saghir, all of them he mentions weak hadith. Many. Adab al-Mufrad, another amazing hadith. Manners in Islam, very famous book, studied all over the globe. Many weak hadith. Many. Not even one or two, many. Go through all the chapters, many. Imam Bukhari wasn't of the madhab that if it's a ta'if hadith, immediately reject it. No. Wrong. Although you've got it completely misunderstood. No. So, we take religion from the people who understand religion. We take hadith from those who understand hadith. We take fiqh from the people who, each person has the expertise. You can't just come and say, look, I want to understand Qur'an the way I feel like. Rasulullah prohibited that, forbade that. Not your choice. It's not your domain to comment. Is that understood? You're not a master of these 15 subjects, at the bare minimum. You're not allowed to commentate on the Quran. All we are allowed to do, even as scholars, we don't even have the authority to. 10 years of studies is nothing. It's a joke. You understand? We don't even have that authority. The person who's mastered those 15 subjects that the ulama quote, like Imam Suyuti and many others, that person can do his own ijtihad in the verses of the Quran. Because he's got a full scope of deen, got a full understanding of deen. A person just can't come say, okay, I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a pilot, and start making up their own views in Quran. This is wrong. Absolutely wrong. This is haram. You won't be, even if you're right, you're still wrong. Rasulullah said, even if a person is right, he's still wrong because he done it without. It's like a normal person trying to do surgery. Even if he gets the surgery right, he's still going to be jailed. Isn't it? Still going to be imprisoned. That's the same thing. This is deen. This is even much. Surgery is nothing. One person's life. This is the whole dunya's life. You understand how dangerous this is? Even us, we are only allowed to quote from the masters of tafsir, of the mufassirin. We shouldn't be talking from. That's why I specifically prefer this method. I have a book, I know what I'm doing. I'm not saying anything out of my own mind and thoughts. So here, Aisha radiallahu anha reports, whoever masters these 7 surahs, memorizes these 7 surahs, masters these 7 surahs, acts upon these 7 surahs, he is habar. Habar means he's an extremely like a very good scholar. Very good scholar. And habar was one of the titles of Ibn Abbas. Everyone knows Ibn Abbas? One of the greatest mufassir of the Quran. Ibn Abbas, he was a child still when Rasulullah passed away. The majority of the knowledge, he didn't actually get it from Rasulullah. He actually got it from the senior Sahabas. Yes, he was respected for his knowledge because he had a deep understanding. Rasulullah made that dua, Allahumma faqihhu fid deen. Allahumma faqihhu, that word faqih. Okay? Allah give him deep understanding in religion. Okay? Allahumma faqihhu fid deen wa allimhu ta'wil. And he made another specific dua as well. Allah give him deep understanding in religion. So this is regarding fiqh. The other part is regarding wa'allimhu ta'wil, is regarding tafsir. Allah give him knowledge of ta'wil. Ta'wil means interpretation. In the earlier scholars, they understood interpretation to be one way. Okay? They didn't differentiate much in ta'wil and tafsir. We'll go through that in Ulum al-Quran, inshallah. I'm not going to go into that deep. But just for you to understand that ta'wil is not something bad. If ta'wil was bad, then Imam al-Tabari, the ones that many of the so-called scholars nowadays, they love to use. He, in every single verse, nearly every single verse, practically, he says, وَتَأْوِيلُ هَذِهِ الْآيَةِ كَذَا وَكَذَا وَكَذَا. What are you going to say there? And the ta'wil, no, he doesn't say tafsir. Why? Because to him, tafsir is definitive. Tafsir is definitive, absolute. Like, this is what the meaning of this verse is. There's no doubt in that. This is definitely the only understanding, or one of the only proper understandings of this verse. Whereas ta'wil can go into deduction. Many scholars, they understand the verse because of various other hadith, because of the language, because of a slight ba. Because of a slight ba. One scholar says, oh, it's for ba'd. Another one comes and he says, no, it's for za'ida. Another one's... From one small ba, there's three different complete fiqhi opinions. What are you going to follow? You want to say you're a master in religion and you want to say you want to follow your own opinions. How? It's impossible. You don't even understand the Arabic language. That ba has more than how many meanings? Allah knows. You have to go and check the Nahu books now. You have to go and check the grammar books. Okay? So, please understand the rank of the scholars. Please understand what the specialities of each and every single field. Just like, for example, if a person is a specialist in biology, you're not going to go to him and ask stuff about physics, although he'll know physics. Is understood? He'll definitely know physics, but he won't know physics to a degree where the person who specialized in physics knows. Same thing. A mufassir is a mufassir, muhaddith is a muhaddith, faqih is a faqih. Okay? Aqidah expert is an aqidah expert. Sometimes there's 2 in 1, sometimes there's 3 in 1. If you're lucky. Many. No? Abu Hanifa, he was known to be an aqidah expert. He used to go from place to place just to go and refute these batil groups because they were popping up here and there and everywhere. And Abu Hanifa, alhamdulillah, he had the finances. He was a rich man, he was a businessman. He had the finances to go from place to place and go and debate these people and to put them down and to make the haqq apparent. Because he was a great scholar and they used to fear him. They used to fear him. It came to the point where he says, I went to Basra 27 times. 27 times I went to Basra just to go and debate these law. Because they used to come up with so many different random aqidah, ideologies, thoughts, thinking that were completely unknown to deen, completely unknown to religion, that were contrary to religion, not just unknown, contrary to religion. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, if he didn't stand up for the Khalqul Qur'an, we're going to go through that in detail. If he didn't stand up for Khalqul Qur'an, what would have happened? The whole ummah would have been a massive misunderstanding. He had to. Imam Shafi'i, inshallah, when we go there, I'll narrate to you that story. I'm going to keep you there. Okay? I need you to continue. Can't give everything off the head. So, the person who learns the first 7 surahs, meaning from Baqarah until end of Surah Tawbah. Why? Come on. I want one person to put their hand up at least. Why? I said this last week. I gave you a clue last week. Because majority of the rules and ahkam of the Qur'an is within the first half of the Qur'an. Tawbah is like the first 10 paras, first 10 juz of the Qur'an. So the first 10 juz of the Qur'an practically has most of the rules and regulations. Okay? Whatever rules and regulations exist inside the Qur'an, majority of it is within the first 10 juz. After that, it decreases. I told you the last 10 juz has very few. That's why it's called muhkam. Muhkam means something extremely clear. There's no discussion here. It is absolutely clear. You understand? There's no abrogated laws here. It's like the Makkan surahs. The easiest way I gave you was last half of the Quran is like Makkan surahs. It's the easiest way to understand. That's why you find these verses are really small verses. And even the surahs are small, very small. So a lot of that stuff, there's no abrogation there. There's no abrogation at all. So for example, are you going to find, let me give you an easy question here. Are you going to find the verses to do with the prohibition of alcohol in the front of the Quran or the back of the Quran? Quran, yeah? Always going to be in the front of the Quran. It's not going to be at the back of the Quran. It's impossible. Okay? Are you going to find about the prohibition of eating swine, eating pork? Yeah? Where are you going to find that? Front of the Quran. Yeah, you're never going to find that in the back of the Quran. You can search all night. You won't find it. So, majority of the, if you want to look for jihad, where do you go look for jihad? Front of the Quran. It's not going to exist at the back because the back was revealed earlier. Don't don't get confused with. A lot of people might have it in the understanding that okay, whatever's in the first of the Quran must be Makkah, and whatever's at the end of the Quran must be Medina. No, that's not the case. It's the opposite way. Yeah, that's why I told you the arrangement of the Quran itself is tawqifi. It's from Allah. There's a hikmah to that. There's a massive wisdom in that. Whether we can comprehend it or understand it or not. If you look at a student of Hafiz, a student like Hafiz al-Quran, he's memorizing Quran. It's much easier to memorize the last from Juz Amma down. The Juz Amma, isn't it? It's much easier. Why? Because it's like rhyming. Amma yatasa'alun anin naba'il azim alladhi hum fihi mukhtalifun kalla say'alamun. Now if you tell him to recite alladhina yu'minuna bil ghaibi wa yuqimuna as-salata, ayah's not ending. When is he going to end? He needs to take breath. He's a child. He's a 7-year-old child learning here. He needs to learn how to pray salah. You're giving him verses. Ulaika ala hudam min rabbihim wa ulaika humul muflihun. Some of the verses are even longer, isn't it? Ayatul Kursi. Allahu la ilaha illa huwal hayyul qayyum. Nearly 6 lines. He's going to memorize 6 lines without taking a breath. You understand how hard it's going to be? But with the other way, Watteen, Zaytun, Turi Sinin, Wadal Baladil Amin. Easy, simple. He can learn it. There's massive wisdoms. Massive wisdom. We'll go through that inshallah. So here, Rasulullah, this is the hadith that he keeps on repeating. Hafiz Dimyati, one of the greatest scholars of Islam, he keeps on repeating this one because he says the 7 long surahs until Tawbah, end of Tawbah, these were given to me instead of the Torah. What was given to the Jews? Yeah, the Torah. And in return of the Zabur, in return of the, what was Zabur? The book given to? Yeah, Dawud alayhi salam. So in return of the Torah, I was given the 7 long surahs. In return of Zabur, I was given the Mi'un, the surahs that are 100 verses or more. Is that understood? The surahs that are 100 verses or more. And in return of Injil, what's Injil? Book given to Isa alayhi salam, the Bible, yeah? The original Bible. I was given Mathani. So all those surahs from after Surah Tawbah, from Juz, after Juz 10, so Juz 11, from Juz 11 all the way until Surah Hujurat. Any surah that has less than 100 verses is called Mathani. It's called Mathani. Any surah that has less than 100 verses, I was given those surahs in return for Injil. Okay? And then وَفُضِّلْتُ, I was given superiority over all prophets in the Mufassal. In the Mufassal. What is Mufassal? From Surah Qaf to Surah Nas. Qaf, not Kaf. Kaf is on Fridays, yeah? Qaf. Surah Qaf until Surah Nas. I was given superiority over all the Anbiya. So this is my speciality. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me this to become more superior over any other Anbiya that was ever sent. Because they were not given this. So, not to say that they, again, just so that a person doesn't misunderstand, not to say that if you see the resemblance, if you ponder upon the meaning, the first 7 surahs, the longer surahs, are to do with a lot of ahkam, a lot of rulings and laws. You look at the Jews, What do they have? Massive books, huge books, full of laws, isn't it? And their laws were strict, very strict, unbelievably strict. Okay, you go into some of the laws, it's like impractical, like really hard to follow. Alhamdulillah, Allah gave us ease, extremely easy laws compared to the Jews and the Christians. So each of these surahs, each of these portions have a slight relation to these types of surahs as well. Now, one of the verses in Surah Ma'idah, أنزلنا إليك الكتاب بالحق مصدقا لما بين يديه ومن الكتاب ومهيمنا عليه فاحكم بينهم بما أنزل الله. That this book was given as a muhaymin. What is muhaymin? Muhaymin, something which is trustworthy, supreme, it is like a protector. It rules over everything that came before. It rules over everything that came before. So, our way of distinction is if it's in the Qur'an, and that same story is, for example, in the Bible or the Jewish scriptures, fine, we accept it. Because we understand them to be original books as well, sent from Allah, isn't it? Original works were sent from Allah. There's pieces, portions of it still left within their books. But because of changes, because of time, because of interpolations, it got changed, it got tampered. Okay. So, our muhaymin is the Quran. Our fact-based opinion is from Quran. It doesn't agree with the Quran. Not that we should immediately reject it, because Rasulullah didn't say to reject it. Okay? It goes against the principles of religion, yes, of course. 100%. We have to reject it. There's no way. If it goes against any of the principles of the fundamentals of the religion, we must reject it. But if it doesn't go, it's like a story, and for example, the dog of the Ahlul Kahf was this color or that color, fine, take that as extra knowledge, take that. It's mentioned in this book and that book. Fine, it's not a big problem, it's not a big issue. Okay? As extras. As an extra is not a problem. Just to mention, the Mi'un, they are Surah Yunus, Surah Hud, Surah Yusuf, Surah Nahl, Surah Isra, Surah Kahf, Surah Taha, Surah Anbiya, Surah Al-Mu'minun, Surah Shu'ara, and Surah Safat. So there's 11. 11. Okay, these 11. I already went through this. Right, inshallah. Here is an amazing narration, mashallah. So, عن أبي الخلد قال أنزلت صحف إبراهيم في أول ليلة من رمضان. The scriptures, the scrolls that were revealed to Ibrahim alayhi salam was revealed on the first night of Ramadan. وأنزلت التوراة لست خلون من رمضان. On the sixth night, the Torah was revealed in Ramadan. Ramadan is Ramadan. Ramadan is Ramadan. Ramadan is amazing. Allahu alam of the absolute haqiqah, but inshallah this is أخرجه ابن الدريس في فضائل القرآن وذكر السيوطي في الدر المنثور في تفسير سورة البقرة. This is most likely sahih, accepted narration. If not sahih, at least accepted. The scrolls of Ibrahim alayhi salam were revealed on the first night. The Torah was revealed in the sixth night of Ramadan. وأنزلت الزبور لاثنتي عشرة خلون من رمضان. 12th of Ramadan was Zabur, Dawud alayhi salam's book. وأنزل القرآن ل24 ليلة خلت من رمضان. Quran was revealed the 14th of Ramadan. وذكر لنا رسول أن نبي الله قال أعطيت السبع الطوال مكان التوراة وأعطيت المئين مكان الإنجيل وأعطيت المثاني مكان الزبور وفضلت بالمفصل. We already went through that. سورة مائدة. عن مجاهد قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم علموا رجالكم سورة المائدة وعلموا نساءكم سورة نور. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, teach your men folk Surah Ma'idah and teach your women folk Surah Nur. Surah Ma'idah has again a lot of injunctions. It has approximately 18 injunctions and laws that are not found in any of the surahs in the whole Quran. Okay? No repetition. You won't find them in any other surah besides Surah Ma'idah. What is Ma'idah? What does Ma'idah mean? Yeah? Ma'idah is regarding, if you go to the last page of Surah Ma'idah, the Hawariyin, the helpers, Sahaba, we call Sahaba companions of Rasulullah. The companions of Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, they were called Hawariyin, helpers. They made a dua, Ya Allah, send down a tablecloth full of food. Because we want to satisfy Allah. We want to see a miracle, basically. We want to see a miracle. That's why this surah is called Surah Al-Ma'idah. So, Surah An-Nur is extremely important. Why? What does it start off? Okay. It's not just important for women. It's important for us. Of course, it's more so for women. It talks about hijab. It talks about protecting your chastity. It talks about asking permission. It talks about, what else can I think on the top of my head? Many things, mashallah, many things. Hudud. It talks about hudud as well, punishments, zina and all that stuff. So, all of those things are extremely important for a person to build his morals. Look at our society now, unfortunately. And Allah preserve everyone. Allah preserve every single family. We have to make an effort. It doesn't come easy. Nothing comes easy. Nothing comes easy. Raising children is so hard. Anyone that has children, we tell you. Raising children is very hard. Extremely hard. Okay? The nagging, the screaming, the crying, extremely hard. The reward of that, if you were to see the reward, you'd be raising more and more and more children. Reward for every single scream. Reward for every. Why? Because that child, how many children is he going to have? He's going to go and have another 4 or 5 children. That child is going to have, you're going to have more grandchildren, great grandchildren, more. Every single person that goes out from your progeny, you get the reward. You get the reward as the great grandfather is called Zaid. Isn't it? Your name, Zaid. You get all the reward. Why? Because you're the asal. Through you, the children came. Without you, you're a means, of course, but through you, because the nurturing that you gave to your children, through you, your children made their children into good human beings. Isn't it? Every single salah that your child prays goes on your shoulders. Isn't it? Every single salah, every single tasbih, every single Qur'an, every single durus lesson that is coming and sitting goes on your dad's automatically. Every single time for example, I read the Quran, my dad gets the reward immediately. He's inside his qabr. He gets the reward automatically. It's direct debit. It's an absolute direct debit. It's a guaranteed direct debit as well. You understand? Whether I make dua for him or not, it doesn't make a difference. Automatically, every good that I do goes automatically to him. This mentality of having very less children and being stingy and being miserly, It's completely against. You look at deen, this is completely against. Yes, of course, you should be sensible. Should be sensible, no doubt. Giving each children their right. Okay? Giving each children their right. So from the 18 verse, from some of the 18 that are mentioned in Surah Ma'idah, we'll discuss inshallah a couple of them. It mentions in Surah Ma'idah in the beginning, Surah verse 3. It mentions حرمت عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير. Anyone have any idea? Prohibited upon you is maita. What's maita? Dead animals. I'm sure you've heard this. Yeah? Dead. It died by itself. Natural cause. Or jumped off something. Dead. Absolutely dead. Unslaughtered. Absolutely haram. Absolutely haram according to all scholars. Ijma'an. You've heard this in Bangladesh. Be careful, yeah? I know it's a culture nowadays to go and eat out this place and that place. And our ulama previously were very, very, very. I can't even explain to you the level of emphasis of this. They would not eat from anyone's hand at all. Anyone and everyone, no way. No way. If they knew that that item, even if it's not to do with meat, even if it's not meat products, nowadays, it's calamity upon calamity. You don't know what type of haram is coming inside that household. Because there's so many aspects of haram. You don't know what's going on. So for you to go and eat in another person's house, even if he is a Muslim, you're doubting yourself and you're doubting himself as well. Because you don't know what you're eating. The income is the biggest. No matter, you can go and eat HMC. It doesn't make a difference. Your income's the main thing. If your income's haram, then everything's haram. You can go and you can go and slaughter your own chicken. You can say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar and slaughter your own chicken. That doesn't make it halal. Yeah, it makes it halal in the halal sense. Yes. But your income, where did you buy this chicken with? What did you buy it with? غذي بالحرام ملبسه حرام مطعمه حرام فأنا يستجاب. How? You think your du'as are going to be accepted? How? Impossible. Rasulullah is giving you a rhetorical question just for you to think. You already know the answer. Everyone knows the answer. Person, his food is haram, his income is haram, his drink is haram, not to say he's drinking alcohol. No. This hadith doesn't mean he's drinking alcohol. This hadith does in no way mean that he was drinking alcohol and he was eating pork and no. This is talking about income. His income was haram. Therefore, the food that he bought with the income is absolutely haram. The drink that he bought with the income is absolutely haram. The food, the clothes, the shiny clothes that he wears, all haram. The clothes that he buys on Eid for his wife, for her to dress well, haram. غُذِيَ bil-haram. He's nourished in totally haram from top to bottom. How do you think that his dua is going to be accepted? Impossible. That's why be extremely careful. Haram wealth just takes a drop. Just takes one drop. A massive container of water, 200 liters. One drop of urine, what happens? You can make wudu there. You can make ghusl there. That's what haram is. As much as we want to make excuses for ourselves, we just do it. Shaitan is whispering. Waswasil khannas. Waswasil khannas. Continuous whisper. Angel at the same time. له معقبات من بين يديه ومن خلفه. In some of the tafsir it mentions 21 angels. If you have one shaitan with you, then Allah has given you 21 angels with you. That's why, wa alaikum salam. That's why you see the dominance in doing good in human beings is way more. Way more. Even if you want to do something bad, you know your feet don't want to go towards it sometimes. Because you know what you're doing. You're going in the ma'siyah of Allah. You're going in the disobedience of Allah. So this was one of the verses. That eating dead animals, any type of dead animals is absolutely haram. Okay? I'm not going to mention the restaurants. There's some restaurants in Bangladesh. It's business. According to them, it's business. Muslim owners. They'll feed you haram. They'll feed you dead animals. Because they can get it for a tenth of the price. Be careful. Be careful where you eat, whose hands the food is made from, all those things. Be extremely careful. Then you find the next verse, one of the other injunctions. قُلْ أُحِلَّ لَكُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتِ. Lawful. You know our minds, when we think of halal and haram, we think everything is haram until we are given permission that it's halal. No. Everything is halal until we find something to say it's haram. And in this case, Imam Malik is probably the most free-minded, if you want to say. To him, anything which basically it doesn't come in actual text form from Rasulullah or from Allah, then it's completely permissible. That's why if you go Morocco, anyone been to Morocco? Yeah? In Algeria? Tunisia? Yeah? What do they eat? Snails. That's the one, mashallah. You took it off me. You want to eat snails? Who tasted it? It's nice to be Hanafis, isn't it? But for them it's allowed. For them it's allowed. They're following Imam Malik's madhab. Imam Malik says anything which is not substantiated in Qur'an and Hadith, absolutely, then it's halal. They follow that opinion. It's a valid opinion according to them. They can follow that, no problem. You're a Maliki, you're 100% Maliki, follow that opinion, no problem.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله